loading snacks.
Hey, we good?
Okay. What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. Jokes is in his building,
Yo.
and Sin is in his building,
Sir,
as we have been for
for a
I
while
don't know,
now.
Good little while
we like
now.
12 weeks. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, something like
Um,
that.
so this is Loading Snacks Weekly, where normally we get together once a week and we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. But today,
Today.
we're gonna do things a little bit different. So, for those of you who are unaware, today is Blackout Tuesday, um, which is an initiative that was started in order to silence other outlets in order to give Black voices an opportunity to be heard.
Hmm.
And we think it's important for us to take this opportunity. So,
Absolutely.
because of all of what is currently happening right now, including with the pandemic that actually still exists, um, you know, there's a lot of racial tension. Um, there's a lot of disparity. There are a lot of questions, and we just thought it would be important for us to take a moment to use the platform that we have to speak about it, really more from personal perspectives. This isn't I cannot personally speak for someone else. Um, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge and to send condolences to the families of everyone who has been affected by this, including the family of George Floyd. May he rest in peace. Um, it is so unfortunate that it took what happened to happen to him for us to get to the place that we're in. Um, so this isn't something that is going to be designed to be somber or anything of that nature. It is an opportunity for us as Black men with an outreach to a pop culture community that loves all the same things that we love, to give them an opportunity to understand some of what we've been through, some of what we feel, and to hear feedback even, because your stories about things like this are important too, even if you are not Black, if you are a person of color, if you are not a person of color. um, I do believe that everyone has something important to say on the matter, and so we do want to have a discussion with people as best you can via chat. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's not
Right.
going to be super simple. Um, so I guess what I want to do is start by just asking the two of you how you're feeling. Either one of you can start.
You know,
Like,
pissed off and upset. That's literally how I feel. Like I posted the other day, like ever since all this stuff kind of started, just for some reason this one just hit different, like it did with the rest of the world. It just hit different, and one getting a good night's sleep, stuck in the house, like what's going on, all this confusion. You're looking at the videos, and it's so blatant and obvious. It's just enough is enough. Facts. Just enough is enough.
Sure,
What about you, Jones?
sure.
I mean, you hit it right on the nail. It's like, I'm pissed, I'm sad, like just all these emotions just running wild. Like, you wake up every morning and it's just like, what's been happening now? You wake up, your first thing would be is, you really thinking about going to the shower, brushing your teeth, doing something like that. But it's like, oh great, I wonder what's going on in the world today. Something else has probably didn't happen. We didn't woke up, and as usual, this has happened again. And it hurts. It hurts that it has to happen again, and then it has to start to take these serious protests and these serious demonstrations to try to get
Yeah.
the change that we need and so desperately need as a world. Um, you know, I can't say I haven't had anyone other than something like this. I haven't had something like this where I've lost someone. So I can't really speak from that perspective, but I can speak from the perspective of losing a loved one, and it hurts. But when you lose a loved one under something that could have been a controlled type of thing, it's like why it just like Sin said, it just hits differently. This wasn't
Yeah.
someone passing of natural causes. This wasn't someone passing from having a deadly disease per se. Like this was something that just absolutely did not need to happen again.
Like murder.
You're
'Cause,
right.
yeah,
Um, I I want to say that for me personally, you're right. Saying this, for some reason, felt different. Um, a lot of times in the myriad times that we have seen behavior like this coming from people who are sworn to protect, um, it never feels like it's right. You know what I mean? I'm never
right.
indifferent to it. Um, however, and maybe it's, I told you guys the other day that one of the things that happened for me specifically was I was watching the news with my 10-year-old, and um, they were showing people rioting, looting, going in and out of a Target, just kind of crazy, stealing stuff. And her first question to me was, "Where is that?" Right? Like she knows it's a Target.
Right.
Her
Mhm.
concern is
Is
that
it
the
this
Target down the
right
We
street?
street?
we don't. Yeah.
Right? Like, is that right up the street? And so, and saying to her, "No, that's not here. That's happening in Minnesota,
Hmm.
right now." And then her not really knowing what that means. All right, well, where's Minnesota? How close in relation to us, is that? Pulling up a map of the United States and showing her, this is where this is happening. This is where we are. You know what I mean? Like, it's really far away, right? So you don't necessarily need to be concerned about what's happening there, happening here. But then having to answer questions to her, for her, about why. Why are people doing it? And explain to her what happened to George. Show her what happened to George. Hear her come to her own conclusion about it being unnecessary. Why are they doing it? Like, what is he doing? Her listening to him plead for air, plead for his life, plead for his mother and his children, right? I watched my child essentially watch someone die,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Who she didn't know. And maybe that was what it was, but it was different. And that combination of, I do think some of it is, look, we're all kind of on edge. Everybody's been stuck in the house. You really are a lot of times alone with your thoughts, under circumstances like this. And so while it's normal for something like this to happen and for there to be protests, sometimes rioting, which, that's another thing we'll get into. Um, I just, it feels like to rewatch, to see it happen again like it did when I was in high school. Like
Yeah.
Sunday was I don't want to hear any jokes out of y'all for this. Sunday was the 25th anniversary of my high school reunion. I'm old, and this is older than that.
Yeah.
This is it's way older than that. I mean, that was right there for you on TV, and people did not riot when Rodney King was beaten. They didn't riot when they saw the video. Real riots happened when there were no convictions. And I think the thing for me is that not just what happened to George, but for the cases that happened prior to, just within days leading up to that, to hear things like, oh, they've finally decided to arrest the gentleman who shot a man for jogging. Let's not say for jogging. Shot a man that was jogging. And feeling like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like, it took so long for them to arrest him, but they're not going to convict him. It doesn't matter. Or their sentences will be very light by comparison. You know what I mean? Or something along those lines. So feeling like it's so hard to ever feel like there's a justice that gets served. And so I don't think I'm as angry as I think a lot of people are. I am hurt, but I think more than anything, I'm just frustrated.
Facts.
Because it's so hard to understand.
Yeah.
It's so hard to understand, like, how and or why anyone can hate someone because they don't look like them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I'm just
Crazy.
not sure where that comes from. We are going to explore a little bit of that today. I'm going to be real with you. I want to know how you guys feel about the rioting.
The rioting, like, I'm gonna put it into it. So I understand the frustrations. The frustrations are there, but the rioting has gotten to the point where it's gotten so out of control that folks are trying to riot these big stores. Let's Target, for example. Target, Apple, all of that. But in trying to keep the memory of George, we're also attacking black businesses, small businesses, these type of things at the same time. Like, there's no distinguishing, and that's the part that really hurts. Like, I'm sure George would be happy, people are speaking up and standing up for what happened to him, but I don't think he would have wanted to see it unfold like this. I believe there's a level of frustration that everyone, when you get to, and you just explode. But I think the rioting has just gotten out of hand. Like, I've seen both sides of the fence watching the news. Like, I've seen the peaceful protests, and then I've seen where the protests have gotten out of hand from beginning on the side of being the protesters, or from security, military, whatever you want to call it, that's defending or whatnot ever for it. And like, I just wish, like, the rioting piece of it was just done differently. The thing about a riot, like, once you get to the point where the bigger powers that are in control aren't listening, then it's like something like a riot happens, because it's like, what, we're going to do this. Once we start destroying things, maybe then you'll want to listen. Like, it should never have to get to that point where you have to start robbing a store in order to get somebody to listen to something that's as serious as a murder. something that's been happening for years.
I mean, I don't think I don't think that's happening to get people to listen. I just don't. I do want to take a moment. J. Robert Deans, thank you for being here. Saying that the rise and looting are a strange space right now because so much is coming out that the majority of it is being perpetuated by white anarchists. Um, you know what? That may be true.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? I can't say one way or the other. I do know that they are not the only ones if that's the case. Did we lose Sin?
We lost Sin right quick.
Okay.
We'll give him a
He'll come back.
second. Yeah, we'll give him a second because
He'll come back. It'll look a little funky for a second, y'all. He'll come
yeah,
back.
guys, it's
Um,
he comes back.
So I, for me, the looting is a thing that is never, um, it's never warranted.
Hmm.
You know, I think a lot of times what happens is the anger and frustration begins to perpetuate itself to a point where going from vandalism and the breaking of property, which is not, you know, not necessarily something to condone either, um, becomes, well, we just broke the window of this store. We might as well go in here and, whatever. I do think some of that, we've seen looting and rioting before. Again, it's not
Absolutely.
new, but I also think we have way more people who are currently out of work. Um, and I bet their stimulus checks are gone.
At this point,
Who
yeah.
took advantage of an opportunity. I do believe that there are people who are just taking advantage of it, and I don't believe that any of that is the right way.
No, I agree.
Um,
I agree.
I will, however, say that I made a post yesterday because I was really kind of trying to find. It has taken me days. If you haven't figured out by now, I'm a long-winded individual. I got a lot to say all the time about almost anything. It has taken me days and sleepless nights to try to figure out the best way to put into words how I feel about all of it. What's happening, why it's happening, not just the
Check,
looting
check.
and the protesting, but
We hear you,
but
Sin. You good?
why,
Okay.
yeah, you're
Make
good.
sure.
Why the policing happens the way it happens. You're talking to a person who has best friends who are police officers.
Same.
My brother is a police officer. I know it's not everybody, right? I know it's not all officers. I know it's not all people. Um, for me, the best way I could put this into words, and I appreciate you, Sin, for reposting it, kind of reiterating it for me. I think I'm going to post it again without the video. But there was a video that a DJ friend of mine posted that is just cuts of video after video of people just seemingly targeted by police officers. And it literally felt like I was standing across the street from or living next door to someone who was stuck in a domestically violent relationship. I view what is happening here as domestic violence. It is here at home happening to you. And the looting and the rioting and the anger is akin to the person who is in that abusive relationship who you maybe try to talk them down and say, hey, you should probably get out of that relationship. It's not good for you. And their
Right.
answer to you is, and go where? Where are we supposed to go? How are we supposed to get away from it when we have moved into new neighborhoods and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's nowhere to go to get away from it because it's not just in our policing. It's in the mortgage system. It's in the housing development. It's in the credit. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's across the board. And that person who you would finally see them have enough of being domestically battered and bruised and beaten down physically and mentally and what have you, that, and I used the reference from the movie Waiting to Exhale, finally just says, I had enough, takes all of this dude's clothes,
And just
everything, he chucks them out the window, puts them all in the car, his favorite thing, and lights the whole
thing
bitch on fire.
Straight up.
Mhm.
Right? And when it happens, we applaud her, even though we know it's wrong.
Wrong. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we know two wrongs don't make a right. That's just not how things work. It tends to beget retaliation in some way or the other, and we do have to come up with better ways. However, there's also the knowledge that when you watch her go through that, after she does it, you kind of recognize that it would be impossible for her to move on if she did not release some of the anger and frustration out of her system before trying to sit down at a table and have a conversation. If you have ever tried to have a conversation that would actually resolve something with someone who is angry, you know you're getting nowhere. It's just not happening.
100%.
So somehow you have to release and resolve that. And while I don't condone it, there's a certain level of understanding that comes along with it.
Agreed.
So look, I do want to shout out again everybody who's watching. Shin, I didn't give you a chance to kind of talk about how you feel about the writing. Is there something that you want to say about it or what have you that's different? Or
when you put out that post yesterday, I had to shout you out for it and repost it because it was mirroring like the same kind of like thoughts I was thinking about it. I just love the way you put it in that light to help people understand. Like when my brain was going with it is it's only so many times that you know what I'm saying you can tell people leave you alone or I'm gonna hit you. Leave me alone or I'm gonna hit you. I'm telling you that one more time, I'm gonna hit you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We've been going through this, for years with peaceful protests, with marches, all this stuff, and now we're in the age of social media and cell phones, and we're recording it and showing everybody, hey, this is really happening, but y'all don't want to listen to us. This is really happening to us. Y'all still don't want to listen to us. Okay, and now it's, okay, now I gotta go beside your head with a brick, and now you got your full attention. I mean, just plain and simple. I'm not diluting.
man, it's extreme, but you're
No,
right.
that's on fact. That's 100%
Yeah,
fact.
like I have your full attention now, and basically that's just what happened. America snapped and punched them back, and then like I said, we're angry, we're frustrated. So I'm down with the protests. I mean, some property damage here and there. I completely get it. I'm understanding with it because we have to let them know we are pissed off, we're angry, and we've been telling you this for years upon years upon years, and nobody's listening. So now we gotta go out and act the fool. Now we have the world's attention.
Listen.
Exactly. So that's
And there's there's an upside and a downside to that, right? Because I think that there are a lot of people who will look at the rioting or the looting, the anger, the destruction, and go look at them. They don't know how to act. This is why we have to do that to them. This is why we have to police them. We have to protect them because they can't protect themselves. We have to, you know what I mean? Like I do think there's a lot of that visually that ends up kind of just being the case.
But one thing I do like about with this new social media thing, especially I see a lot of young kids out there, they're filming every bit of the BS that's going on out there and instantly putting up there on social media for us to see, like, hey, we're not doing this. That's this other group out here doing that. We're not doing that. And they go to them, they tell them, they argue with them, like we're getting all that stuff on there now. So it's a lot more
Trying
understanding.
to separate it and give
exactly.
and
What's
give it
going on
that
in the streets? Like,
transparency to it.
Exactly.
Because that there's a lot of that going on, and it's crazy. This is supposed to be for I want to say a positive thing. These protests are trying to be positive with it, but then you have this, I'm going to say, small group that just don't want to have things to be good. There always has to be that one oddball that just wants to ruin it for everything. And
this is why we can't have nice things.
100%. And
right.
And it's sad. Like it's like I'm mind boggled. Like I don't understand why it is you just don't want folks to just understand and fully understand everybody as a whole. Like,
Yeah.
what is so
Yeah.
different from me to you that you don't want to see this peaceful protest go along to try to accomplish what we want? I get it. We haven't gotten it. Now things have gotten a little bit out of hand. But no, you don't need to come along and start doing all this and then say, "Oh yeah, we support you and all this," but you're making this cause worse than what
Right.
it's
You
supposed
know,
to
some of
actually
it, some
be.
of it is on purpose. You know what I mean? Some of it is on purpose. Um,
Hmm.
I want to kind of touch on the frustration part because I think that's the thing that um people hear a lot. I think we say it a lot, but I don't think we ever really truly um get into the nitty gritty of where that frustration comes from. For me personally, when I say that I'm frustrated, it is not specifically frustrated that these several people were killed and should not have been. It is not a Trayvon Martin specifically. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not really where it comes from specifically. For me, it comes from at a very young age being followed because I'm trying to shop at a Disney store.
Hmm.
I'm in the mall, minding my business, bothering no one, and literally being followed because I'm walking in the Disney store. And like going home and saying to my parents, like, yeah, I don't really go in the Disney store because they always follow us when we go in there. And like having my parents not believe me until they were at the mall with me.
And
And my
then,
brother and I walk into the Disney store and literally immediately we are followed. And my parents are standing outside in the hallway of the mall, just kind of watching,
hmm,
just to see, you know what I mean, what's going
Hmm.
on. The the minute, the small, that is the problem with that as a bit of racism is concerned. And I say that because truthfully, any young kid could possibly walk into a store and be followed because young kids might shoplift.
hmm,
I'm talking about being in there with other young kids who are not being followed, who don't look like. You understand what I'm saying? Um, when it's happening to you, you know it's happening to you. And you see it, you hear about it, you read about it, you learn about it in school, but until you experience it, you don't really know
hmm.
what it is. And to have it happen to myself and have it happen to my younger brother, like you want to be protective. You know what I'm saying? Um, to go to the people who you feel like should be the people that believe you when you say it, right? Again, we're going back to talking about the domestic violence. You know what I mean? The person who's doing something to you and nobody believes you. When you go to your parents and you say, "This is what's happening," and they don't, they're like, "Come on, man."
Nah, you're
You
just
know what I mean?
you're
It goes back
imagining
and
it.
forth.
You're just seeing like, no, it's not really
Yeah,
happening, right? But
yeah.
it really.
And literally when and here's the thing about it. When it's every single time and it's every single Disney store. It's the one in St. Charles Town Center. It's the one in Baltimore. It's the one. It doesn't matter which one of those stores you
It's
go
just the
into.
same. It's the
It's the
same
same,
experience that you get regardless of where you were.
and it feels like you're being accused.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like before you do anything,
Yeah.
the frustration comes
Yeah.
from Sin. Sin and I have known each other for a very long time. We have been through a lot of things together.
Like this.
Not that we haven't known you for a long time, jokes. I'm not trying to leave you out.
I mean,
Right,
you've
right.
known me practically most of my life, so.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Um,
But
you
man,
know,
man,
getting pulled over
I was thinking about that
at
when
the
you were talking.
mall.
Yeah.
I know you. I know you knew
I
what I
was
was getting
thinking
ready to
about
talk
No,
that
about.
when you were talking.
I have one of those too. Like that, like getting
Um,
pulled over is the worst, and it's like
hey, look, man.
it'd be for
I
something.
don't have a problem getting pulled over because my third tail light is out.
Right, I get it.
Most
Cool.
people probably complain. That's BS. Whatever. But it is what it is, right? You're an officer. You have the right to pull me over because my third tail light is out.
It
Mhm.
is what it is.
By all means. However, how my third tail light is out turns into being seated on the sidewalk having my vehicle searched, right? 4 cop cars, 4 police cars,
Yep.
because my third taillight is out in the mall parking lot in front of everyone.
Yep.
It's embarrassing. It's demeaning. You find nothing, right? And I have to be concerned about whether or not are they getting ready to plant
Put
something?
something on
'Cause
you,
I don't
and
have
it's
it.
like,
I don't do anything.
Your brother had sitting in the back seat.
Sin, if you remember, it was me and you, my younger brother, my oldest daughter's mom.
Mhm.
She was not born at the time. She's 21 now. This was a long time ago.
That it was.
You know, having all of us out of the car and them searching the car. My brother, who was in the band, like you, Sin,
Yep.
and like you, Jokes,
Yep.
we're band geeks. Like, we wasn't doing, you know what I mean?
facts.
Was I went to the movies?
I just want to go to the movies.
We were going to the movies. We had
Yeah.
movie tickets, like, you know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I worked at the movie theater at the mall that we were going to. And they found my brother's mouthpiece to his trumpet. And I will
imagine
never
what they
forget
thought that.
watching the officer that was going through the car, taking the trumpet mouthpiece out of the car with a pen, holding it in the air as if he had found the thing that was gonna. What's this, Chief?
Yep.
What's this? That's my
Some
brother's
nice
trumpet mouthpiece.
Like,
Literally, and my brother is like, he couldn't have been more than 14.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would say he was probably 9th grade or something like that at the time. And I'm like, it's my brother's trumpet mouthpiece. And he's like, oh, yeah? Oh, really? Oh, you play trumpet? You know what I mean? You play trumpet?
It's not funny,
And my
but
brother is like, yeah. And he's like, so are you any good? You know what I mean? It's just like this kind of like this push, this
Extra.
just,
yeah.
can we go
can
to
we
the
just
movies?
do
Though?
whatever?
You know what I
Can
mean? Like,
y'all
they're just,
finish? Let us go. Like,
they're just their moment, like that you deal with. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen to other people. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to people who aren't people of color.
but it's too common.
Sure.
Yes.
Like, just to give you a, so I'm not going to, the whole, like, mine's didn't go as far as yours did. But once,
Yeah.
like, I was with me and my girlfriend. This was, like, my late teens when I was finally able to drive by myself, have my girlfriend in the car with me. But, you know, I had renewed my tags, but I didn't have my new year yet to stick on the back of it. So I had to, you know, print the thing out. You have to tape it in the back of the car so if you get, so they can see it and they know
Right.
you're good.
Right.
So we were going down, matter of fact, Harry S. Truman, and I got pulled over. And, you know, I was like, oh, they're gonna come walk up here and look and see that that's there. But like, he walks up and starts asking me license, registration. He's like, you know, the first thing I know, your tags are expired. And I'm just like, well, did you not peep the thing taped up in the back of my car right now? And then he was like, give me a second. So he walks off, and I'm thinking, okay, he's about to just peep it, do whatnot ever. Within the next 2 minutes, I had either 5 or 6 squad cars behind us for my tag, and I'm just like, why are we having 5, 6 cruisers rolling up for potentially just an expired tag? And then it took, like, we were there for maybe 15 minutes before one of them, not the person that pulled us over initially, came up and was like, oh, you're good to go. And I'm just like, why did, and of course, you know, I asked the question, why did it have to take 5 of y'all to roll up out here to just look at the little piece of paper taped up in the back of my car? Like, and I was on the way to the mall. Nothing.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, y'all both hit on the nail where the frustration comes in. It's ever since, you know, we were brought into this world, we feared red and blue lights. I mean, it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all, I don't think y'all understand, like, like what goes through our head, like the fear when them red and blue lights come on, because we know we might be in a life or death situation over something so minute. Like the video of the day, like, pulled a guy on it. He's laying in his yard. And they're like, "No, we're getting for a traffic stop," but they got their guns drawn. Like, it's a traffic stop.
Right.
Why are
Why
we
are you
here
doing
at?
this?
Yeah, what is with all this? Like that's what we literally think about every time we see those lights and we see officers around us because we get followed all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We straighten up when they pull behind us while we're driving because we know, okay, some BS is about to happen. Let me make sure my ID's right here. This is right here. Let me have the videos recording now because, and 9 times out of 10, yeah, you're right. They're about to pull you over for, oh, why are you running away? You know, just the crap they give us all the time. But that's, I think, where our frustrations come from because we dealt with this our whole life. It's
Yeah. I
sad.
mean, um, as a parent, I only have daughters,
Hmm.
so a lot of the treatment that I've seen that happens to black males that I know a lot of people who have kids and their kids are boys have live with a different level of fear than I generally live with. However, more recently we are seeing it happening to women as well.
Hmm.
Yes.
Um and you just don't know. And the thing about it is, my girls are old enough to drive and be out and about, to go to bars, to go to clubs, to go whatever. I got enough to worry about with just
Right.
regular stuff like that, without having to think. I know that they're going to be with black males who might end up in a situation like this, that therefore puts them in a situation
Mhm.
like this. Um, it's strange to have to worry in a way that's indirect. Um,
That's a real worry for me, a real concern.
Still, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
On facts.
Here's what I want to do. I want to kind of turn this in a slightly different direction. Because Loading Snacks is a hub for pop culture,
Hmm.
for things that are geek, for talking about the things that we love. Um, the hold on, I want to just look at some of the comments real quick. I'm seeing some stuff from Adam Armstrong. Thanks for jumping in, bro. I see you, Anthony. Definitely planting was a thing in parts of Maryland. It
Mhm.
happened a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing stories, being out at a bachelor party. Adam, did you see a video of African American gentleman who got pulled over for not using his turn signal?
Yep.
Cop already had his hand on the gun.
I think I know it.
Cop had nothing really to say. Um, yeah, I mean, I just watched a video the other day where the guy was shooting video, and the police officer asked him to step out of the vehicle, and he was like, "What did I do? For what?" And when he wouldn't step out of the vehicle, the officer just yelled "gun"
Gun.
and drew
Yep.
his
Facts.
gun.
All the and just
Right?
And yep.
Just stuff like that, creating a reason for him to be able
Hmm.
to do something to this gentleman that, is just kind of crazy. Um, yeah. So again, I'm sorry about that, but I do want to pivot a little bit, just because I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to be black, male, and a geek or a nerd. Um, what it can feel like to be the minority at a convention. Um, I think that those things are important too, because a lot of the people who know us or who follow us do so because they know us from those kinds of venues.
absolutely.
Um, and before we get too deep into it, I want to say that, man, we get so much love from so many of the people that we deal with and spend time with at conventions across the board. Um, the community that we have, that we've built, whether it's Awesome Con, All Star Con, Blurred Con, whatever it is really full of people who have shown so much love and have been really open and great to just be around, and
Absolutely.
can a lot of times make you forget some of the things that you do think about when you walk into a convention hall and you are very, very, very in the minority. Um, so I do want to talk about that a little bit. Sin, you've been a little more quiet. than the two of us. So I just kind of want to get your take on some of that. However far back you want to go.
It can be difficult going into a con being the minority because you already have to deal with that stuff on a regular basis every single day, and now you're coming into a place with that's things that you love and you care about, you're passionate about, and you're afraid that you're going to be received the same way once you get there, and then that stuff compounds. You know, so your love for these things you don't feel like you can share with everybody because of the color of your skin or how you're looked at these places. So it is great when you do have a community that doesn't make you feel that way, like you just said. But I'm sure it's
Yeah.
probably not that way for a lot of people out there. Uh, and it's something that cons maybe want to start looking at forward to uh, find a way. So like the ones we're a part of, find a way to make everybody feel welcome and comfortable, especially the way the world is right now. If cons come back, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it's something to be taken seriously going forward. But yeah, first couple of times I went to some cons, you wonder how you're perceived being there. You know what I mean? Like, oh, so what do you know about this? What do you know about that? Like,
Right.
you're black, y'all don't do this. You're supposed to know about basketball and football and breakdance and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like, no, we get looked at that. We get looked at like two in our community. But after a while, going to the cons like that stuff I didn't think about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
haven't really thought about it anymore. But yeah, the first two times, maybe three, I can't remember. But at least definitely the first two times going there, you're kind of on guard a little bit walking around
Yeah.
till you get to the line and get a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, I felt that way at first. Definitely don't feel that way anymore though. I've gotten past that.
Yeah. I want to shout out what Kay is saying. So for those of you, Kay is the fourth, one of the founding members of Loading Snacks, who really put a lot of time and effort into doing our music and cutting our original videos. Like a lot of what Loading Snacks is wouldn't exist without him. And he's
Okay.
in the community. So I just want to acknowledge that he's there, even though you don't see him. And he's saying in here that luckily at the cons he doesn't feel that way. He says it's been a true safe space, and it's how the world should be. And I agree with that in a lot of
100%.
ways. I think that that's so important. I agree with you, Henry, that that is one of the reasons why All Star is such a special place. You just kind of feel welcome. It has a very family kind of environment. All Star is very different from the big con.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? From an Awesome Con or a Baltimore Con. There's definitely a difference there. I do want to say that it's a thing for us that we have, since the inception of Loading Snacks, we have had discussions about just how black we should be.
What level to
Which,
what level to dial the blackness to?
yeah, I mean it's the real thing. Because here's the thing. I personally, and I think the team is on the same line, we have never wanted to lean into the fact that we are black as a reason for people to tune into what we do,
Right.
to watch us, or to give us credit for being knowledgeable, or any of those things. We have actually purposefully, I think in some cases, leaned away from it because we don't want to be labeled as, oh, those are the black guys that really know their stuff. You know what I mean? We just want to be the guys that know
They
their
know that
stuff.
stuff. That's it.
You know what
That's
I mean?
it.
Like, we just want to be like, we'd love for people to shout, hey, Loading Snacks or whatever, and not, maybe somewhere when somebody else says to somebody, who were they? You know what I'm saying? Maybe somebody does describe us as,
Describe it like
well, those are those black guys that really know.
They've
That
eaten
really know
snacks
their
and
stuff.
know their stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's a thing. We don't know. We don't hear it. But we've actually debated about whether or not it would be important for us to even be seen more prominently in quote unquote our own community, in the black community, by hashtagging Blurred on every post, by, you know, like there are people who have seen enormous amounts of success in the same genre by literally calling themselves the black nerd.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nerdy black girls. There's nothing wrong with that. I know that there are a lot of people who specifically lean towards them because it makes them feel comfortable, right? About being able to follow them and listen to them and know, you know what I mean? Like that they come from a space that is similar to theirs and that they feel like their stories and experiences are the same. I have always found, personally, that so many of us have experiences that are the same, regardless of our color or our creed or our sexual preference or our religion, that we always do better as human beings when we focus on the things that make us the same first.
Absolutely.
Because then all of the things that make us different fade away. For example, I know that growing up in elementary school, I had friends who didn't celebrate Christmas because they were Jewish. We played, we had fun, we played tag at recess. They ran and were faster than me, or I ran and was faster than them. It was never an issue there. And then by the time, you get almost to the end of the second quarter and the holiday is coming around, and you go, hold on. Why is so and so getting days off that I don't get off? You know what I mean? And they celebrate something different. They believe something different. Oh, that's cool. So what does that mean? So hold on. So you get gifts. You get like 12 gifts? What does that mean? Like, what? You know what I mean? But I don't have anything against you for it. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, all right, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, if you ever watch kids play, if you just put kids in a room and put toys in a room, they'll just play.
Yeah, there's nothing in between.
That's all
There's
it is.
nothing
Nothing-
clouding up. Yeah, just play.
I'm gonna say something. I mean, I've been saying a lot, but I'm gonna say
I
something.
was still gonna say it like, okay.
I'm gonna add a little extra something.
Seeing you, one of my oldest friends.
Facts.
I love you with all my heart. I don't like everything about you. You are still one of my best friends. We can have those conversations with each other, and it's cool. We don't see eye to eye on everything.
Yeah.
Right? You think Batman is a superhero.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Somehow this
However-
still can't. What?
Whatever. Hey, listen.
Hey, you knew he was gonna have to do it. You knew he had to
We can
swing.
have those conversations
Yes.
because we found the things about each other that we knew and enjoyed the same first. Video games, comic books,
Yep.
girls,
Yeah.
whatever. It just, man, look, when I go into a room, I don't watch wrestling anymore. But if you bring up Ric Flair, we're gonna have a
We're
conversation.
gonna have a conversation.
You understand? There are things that people love more than I do. I still love those things. And to focus on the similarities first, specifically because the differences don't really matter once. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man. You got the comments in a frenzy now because of Batman. Look at
Can you hear me?
Oh no, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just making sure. Somebody
the
tried to
comments
call
in
me,
the
and I
frenzy.
just, you know what I mean?
No, the difference is what makes
Look.
life interesting and fun.
Absolutely.
Race is one of those things that is immediately obvious. It is a thing that makes us different from one another by sight right away. And so it is one of the hardest things to get past up front. Would you guys agree with that?
Definitely.
So I don't know how we do it. I do think. Hey, listen. Hey, Rob, get out the comments with the Batman, Rob.
Man, you in all fairness, you started that.
You
I'm
so
sorry.
did.
You opened up a
You
whole
so
can.
did. We should have been
Hey,
on that
listen.
beforehand.
Gamer Blue is my official new favorite. Batman is a hero with no superpower. All right, I'm with that. Um, I really do. My man JK threw me a whoo in there. I
So
appreciate you,
did.
JK. Um, yeah, I do think that forums like these are important for us about speaking about diversity, things that are different about people, talking about what makes an experience different for you from someone else. Um, it's why we have a being comfortable with being a geek panel that we do, right? Um, man, I love all of y'all. I really do. Even the ones I don't always get along with. Um, I don't think I've ever felt like somebody didn't have a right to live because they look different.
Yeah.
Or because they like Marvel better than DC. Or PlayStation better than Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, we fight amongst ourselves all the time in relatively good ribbing nature.
I think that's equal up to death.
But I do think that we have to have more discussions like this, probably. And I think that that's the thing we need to do.
Agreed.
So, do you guys have ideas for how to push change? How do we do things differently or make things different?
Man,
I think that's a tough question.
yeah, because I mean, there's
It
different avenues. It really is different avenues. Like, I mean, just for the fact like how everyone looks at each other. I mean, that honestly that starts at home. So the way that you bring up your kids, your offspring, however it may be, like it starts at home. So wherever the parents get certain feels about certain people, it's gonna wipe off on the kids as well too. Now there are kids that
Sure.
grow up. I don't want to say the rebellious, but they start to develop their own personality, their own sense that they start to see from their parents' aspect that it's like, okay, I don't quite think what you're saying is the right thing, but
Sure.
it starts at home. That's just one of the main things. It's like if the parents do it,
Right.
the children are going to do it, and the children, of course, if they have kids, it's going to move on from there. It's something that's I don't want to say inherited, but it's definitely something learned. It comes from starts at the top and it works its way down. But there's always at least one that notices something's not necessarily right and tries to go against it. But then you
Yeah.
may have those parents that'll be like, well, you know what? If you're not gonna follow what I say, then you know what? You can leave and get out. And that's the sad part. And then they'll try to kick
Yeah.
them out because of having a different opinion. And also could be, whether it's seeing race, maybe they have a different sexual orientation. Some parents just don't give the love the way that it should. And then it's just
Yeah.
you're just out there for it.
J. Robert Deans asked, when someone says they don't see race, are you concerned? What's your reaction?
When they say they don't see race, I'm looking like,
That's how I feel. Sometimes
yeah, like
when you have to say that, it seems like there's
yeah,
and it
like,
depends
like
sometimes on the type of the conversation of why. Really, it doesn't honestly. When that comes up, it's like you're thinking something that you probably shouldn't be thinking. You probably don't want to say, but you know what? I just got to throw it in there. I don't see race, but
there's something behind it. Like why? Like what do you mean you don't see race? We all are a race. That's the first. Like we just said, it's the first thing you see when you see a person. How do you not see it? Like, come on now, stop. Don't try to play me. I'm not stupid.
don't try to do that. Like,
yeah,
I personally think it depends on the conversation. I'm gonna tell you right now, I see race. I see it all the time. I see it everywhere I go. Right? I notice people. For me, it's not I think most of the time when a person says they don't see race, it means that their intentions are good. If depending on the conversation, it means that they may have let me see. He says, I ask because it always makes me wonder what's going on in their mind, because even if they mean well, they're already not acknowledging someone else's race and how it affects that person in society. So Christine says, my response when people say they don't see it, are you blind? Of course they see it. Everyone sees it and should embrace it. That's kind of where I am. So for me, the problem with seeing race or color as the first thing you see, even though you can't help that, is that we then tend to automatically assume things about the person based on that color that we see. And that's the part that we have to work to try to remove. That even if you see it, you either have to express an interest. As a person, I'm interested in all kinds of cultures and people and understanding. I'm interested in all kinds of music. I don't have to like your music, right? Like whatever your favorite music is, I don't have to like it, but I'm the kind of person who wants to understand why you like it. Exactly. So if you say, well, go with me to a concert. Yep, let's go to the concert. I want to see people get loose. Because when you see people enjoying something that you don't understand, even though you don't automatically gain an understanding of it, you gain a certain level of respect for why it is that someone enjoys something that you don't, regardless, because they're living it, not just listening to it, or something along those lines. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, seeing race and seeing color are not the same thing. We all see color. When we see color, we also usually see race, and it is seeing race, which is a tricky word, because the word race in and of itself implies someone has to be ahead of someone else. Someone is losing and someone is winning. Maybe we need to find a way to call it something else. But seeing color is not always indicative of what that person's life or experiences are like, what they know and what they don't know, where they have been, what they are open to. We see a lot of it amongst ourselves. We get, as black nerds or geeks, given a hard time. I feel like a harder time from people who are black and are not nerds or geeks. Never really bothered me specifically, but I know it's a thing. So I really think that it's about finding a way to kind of seeing color, but being open to the fact that their experiences may be different from yours, and truly being understanding of what that means, how they may approach something differently from you because they're different. I gotta get back in these comments.
I'm gonna say as far as something as far as going forward, I would use that relationship analogy that you use, Gage, and start having those real, honest conversations with each other, just like you would if you were in an abusive relationship and you decide to stay with the person. Now, all the stuff that you haven't been saying to each other all these years, now's the time to say it and see if we can fix this going forward. I think having some real open dialogue, like if the pro-black people got to sit down with the KKK or whatever race, why is it we don't like? Why is it still a thing now in 2020? Right. You know what I mean? If that has to happen, that has to happen. Like why? Like we don't know each other from day one. I never met you. Where's all this hatred coming from? You know what I'm saying? To start having these real tough but deep, honest conversations. I think that's another way that we're gonna have to heal and move going forward. I mean, but that's my 2 cents.
I like what Johnny is saying about saying I try to say ethnicity instead of race, because I think all of our different ancestors and cultures and histories should be studied, learned, appreciated, and respected. Again, that's how I feel.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
too.
Yeah.
Eddie said that we need to see race so we can appreciate everyone's differences. I do think that's the thing too. I think that it is great to focus on our similarities first, so that the differences don't make us feel like we have to be at war with each other in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But then we are able to celebrate each other's differences. You know what I mean? And I should be able to feel comfortable saying Happy Hanukkah to someone, right? Without feeling like I'm betraying my Christian upbringing. You know what I'm saying, or something like that. Like it's just, I definitely feel like we're on, like right here, right now, what we're doing, we're on the right path, right? That we're opening the lines of communication and speaking to one another and trying to understand how everyone feels. I want to tell you that similarity is like agreeing that Batman is a superhero. Come on, man.
My man.
No, sir.
My man Robert. That's what's up.
Oh,
The
man.
difference is like not
Rob.
agreeing that that's
There you go, Rob. Appreciate that. Good luck.
Adam, we will absolutely talk the next time we see each other. Anytime you want to talk, I am open to talking. That's another thing I want to say. For anybody who is in the comments, if you know me, if you have questions, if you are, I actually had, I changed my profile picture, put the Black Lives Matters over top of my image, and had someone contact me and ask me if it was okay for them to use it. Cool. Like, it's totally, like, if you're not sure, you can ask me. I totally believe in having
think we can
safe
ask
space.
any of us. Yeah, definitely any of us. I think because of the
We're
position
open.
that we're in, like, we've tried to become a safe space with people. We've always said, let's, like you said, when we've been at cons, if you don't feel comfortable about whatever, you know what, find one of us, just for the fact that, like, Gage, you're a parent. It's like, Sin, I know you have cousins, whatever you want to put out there, little ones. Like, I have relatives and things like that. You know what, that I'm that person that people look up to. And it's just, you know what, if you don't feel comfortable, I need you to come tell me, like, ASAP. And so we can try to fix this and rectify this. Because especially going into, like, a con environment, you know what, we're here to have fun. There should be no reason why you should have to worry about feeling uncomfortable. But I feel like we've always expressed that, going, but even before the cons, like, Gage, me and you work together, and it's like there was always that thing where you were very open to people. It's like, look, if something's wrong, come find me. Didn't matter if it was a person that was above you, person that someone to work for you. It was just like, look, I'm a person. If you need a vent, if you need to talk, come find me. And that's the same way that I feel as well too.
I think we all carry that same
100%.
characteristic for ourselves.
Henry Brooks is talking about re-education in schools. I mean, I think that's important. You know what I mean? It's probably a thing we need to look at. Is look at the way that the history of racism is taught in schools to very young children to gain understanding. And that is a crucial point. Susan Deutsch, train up our children so that they can be accepting of all people. These are the children that will change the world. You should know she taught me. She raised me up to be one of those people. That's my mama. That's the real thing. Gamer Blue asked, how old are you? I don't know if you're speaking about me specifically. I'm 42.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sin, I'm gonna let you give your age. I won't put you out there. I mean, I will. I don't have a problem actually putting you out there.
I don't care. I'll be 42 in like a couple weeks.
You will.
And then, of course, I'm the youngest of the bunch. I'm 30.
30. Let's see. Zaina, the problem is it being taught as a history lesson rather than a current events lesson. I would say there's something to that too.
Yeah, it also merit. Yeah, absolutely.
That's actually definitely a thing. Because it hasn't gone away. Obviously we need to have the history. We need to know what has happened and what came before. But yeah, we do need to look at what is still currently happening at a minute level as well as at a systemic level. We got people in here talking about Batman, y'all. My fault for starting that. My fault for starting that. Um, Jay Roberts said he's old enough to be your
Be my
dad.
dad.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you, Adam. I will
Big
see you at
facts.
work, man. Um, yeah, Rob, fellow 40 something.
Yeah.
You know, look, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Um, I was taught that part of the reason why racism happens is because of fear, and I do believe that to a certain extent. Um, that the idea of segregation or keeping the people down so that they don't seem like they're as smart or as capable is a real thing. Um, I also learned in my time, my best friend growing up was Filipino, and in our early 20s, um, when he was dating a woman who was white, who he's married to now, and whom I love with all my heart, there was some back and forth that happened because it was rumored that she made some comments about the mixing of races. And my oldest daughter is mixed, and she spent a lot of time around my daughter. Was always very nice to her, but he and I had a very good long conversation about the fact that we went to elementary school together and middle school together and high school together. We went to predominantly black schools throughout our primary educations. We learned from the same teachers. We took the same tests. We worked on projects together.
Mhm.
And having to explain to him that racism towards black people is actually different than racism towards other people was an eye-opening thing for me because he had always been there with me through a lot of the things that
Yeah.
I went through.
Mhm.
Um, and so you do learn sometimes that even though someone is learning the same thing you're learning, because they're not experiencing exactly what you're experiencing, it doesn't always resonate the same way at all. And that is
True.
to say that because of my relationship with him, I grew up with a heavy, heavy love for the Filipino culture. Our families were very heavily intertwined. We called each other's parents mom and dad, right? And it was in that moment, in that discussion, that I learned from him why it was that even though I knew he was attracted to black women, he never pursued ones because they liked him when we were in school too. Yet I watched him date outside of his race consistently. Filipinos, yes. Native Americans, yes. Indians, yes. White, yes. But never black. And it turned out that without ever actually saying it to him, his mother or parents had managed to ingrain in him that it would not be okay for him to bring a black woman into the house. That even though we were great friends and we grew up together and we loved each other and had a lot of respect for each other, slept in each other's beds and houses and ate each other's food and all of that, that somehow, without ever saying it to him, she taught him a way of being racist. I don't know if I had ever been that hurt in my life to actually say to his face, so you're telling me that your mother taught you that if for some reason you ended up liking my sister, that would not be okay just because she's black. But it is perfectly okay for you to date outside of your race as long as that person is not black. That is a real thing. That was a real conversation that I had to have with literally one of my closest friends, who remains one of my closest friends to this very day. To this day.
Heavy.
That probably scared me more than anything else, because it brought a certain level of realization to me that all racism is not racism that happens on purpose. All racism is not racism that happens because somebody actually doesn't like you, right? But that somebody maybe just makes a decision. It is a learned behavior, but it doesn't mean somebody actually sat someone down and said, they're not as good, they can't do this, you should not do Never heard those words. If you sat down and had a conversation with his mother right now, you would have no idea. She is the sweetest, kindest, gentlest woman. She is a nurse. She takes care of people, took care of people for a living. She's retired now. Took care of people for a living. But as much as it hurt me, I had to begin to think to myself, could there have ever been a time when, as a nurse, she had to make a decision about somebody's medical treatment and chose somebody who wasn't black because of something that was
Something
ingrained
that
in
meant-
her? I mean, it's just a thing. It's the kind of thing, it's not just about the police and when they pull you over. It is about, if I end up in the hospital, will I get lesser care?
Right.
Will I be pushed aside for somebody else because of what I look like? Might I die on a stretcher, not because someone beat me or stood on my neck or whatever, but because I look how I look. And someone decided that someone else is more important, that someone else's life is more worth saving or putting the effort or time into than mine because of the color of my skin. That is a very hard thing to live with every day.
Definitely.
You
Yeah,
can't
that's-
wake up and not think about it.
That's passed down hatred. Just passed down from
That's literally what I just said. Like,
yeah, the grandparents to the great grandparents, and like I said, it's not about, they may not come out and actually say it. Some parents, but kids look up to their parents to see how they move with their actions and start to manipulate them as they're developing who they're going to be. And like you said, without knowing it, maybe that's how it happened to him. You know, so before he
Possibly,
realized,
yeah, absolutely.
never
I mean,
saying
look,
it, just
I
watching.
want to make it very clear. In our group of friends, he's the only person that was not black. The only person. So the idea that somewhere in the back of his head, he was taught in some way that we might be lesser, or that at least we wouldn't be good enough to come home. You know what I mean? Was literally probably the most hurtful thing. Somebody who doesn't know me, who I'm getting ready to get a little extra. Having somebody who doesn't know me or never met me call me a nigger, I mean, I'd be mad, but seriously,
You
it
don't
doesn't
even know.
compare to knowing that there are people who you're with every day who might think a certain way or treat you a certain way and not even realize it. Not necessarily know. And we do it to each other. So we have to have conversations like this. We have to be able to have open I've known him, we met each other in like third grade. At the time we were probably 25. So in, almost 20 years of knowing each other, we'd never had a discussion about race with one another.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So we have to have those discussions. And I think it's important for us to make sure that when I think a lot of times as black people, we tend to have discussions about race and what's happening to us and what's going on and how we should change things and what we should do different in a town hall or a meeting where the only people in the room are also us. You can't have a discussion about how other people are treating you and not include them.
Exactly,
Not
100%.
let them in on hearing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what it means, how they can change and do better, and how then we, in turn, can change and do better.
Yeah, we all don't understand. We don't need to be talking to each other about it at this point. You know what I'm saying? We need to go out and talk to the ones that we have the issues with and have those sit downs and be real as hell with it. Let's keep it open. Let's get to a solution. How we can move forward in this country.
That's real. Man, there's a lot going on in the comments right now.
It is popping.
Oh, let me tell you something. MASH, one of my favorite shows of all time, J. Robert. That's one of the best theme songs that ever made.
That's the best. That's the best lullaby. Because when it came on, you knew it was time to go to sleep.
Rob, I was a Filipino adopted by white parents, one raised Catholic, one raised Jewish. Their love was frowned upon in the 60s, but it didn't stop them. Love that. They taught me about openness and love and understanding from all because they went through their own thing. I am so thankful for them raising me to be the way that I am. Me too, Rob. Seriously, me too. I really do. Kaylon, what up, Kay? People who aren't minorities don't understand that you don't have to be hateful to be racist. That's true. A lot of people don't get that. Um, support systemic oppression in any way is racist. You're absolutely right.
That's facts right
Um,
there.
you're right, Robert. Cheers to my man. Um, you're also right, Kay. Some of them don't care, and in some cases, it would be pointless. However, feeling like it's pointless has kept us where we are. That is an absolute fact. Again, I'll go
For some
back to
people,
the
you still have to put
the
in the effort
person
to try.
in the abusive relationship. Feeling like it's pointless to say something because it won't change anything or won't do anything means you haven't done anything
Right.
to attempt. And if you don't attempt, it's like not voting. You don't vote, you are part of the problem. You cannot expect change
If you don't contribute to
if
it.
you don't speak on it, if you don't say something. It is not fair to expect anyone to change their behavior if you don't let them know that you have an issue with their behavior, regardless of how minor or how great it is. If you wait until their knee is on your neck to say that you don't like it, you're probably
Too
going
late.
to die before a change comes.
Yep.
That's just what it is. It has to be that playful slap that feels a little too like, you know what? I know you're just playing, but I didn't really like that.
Right.
You got to let that be known. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? When somebody at my job makes a comment to me, if we have the kind of relationship where we can do that, okay. If we don't, I have to say something.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. Because
Right.
if I don't,
You're gonna try to
then
do
it
it again.
becomes
and
something
it's
that
gonna
they
become.
perceived as
That they
okay.
can do it again. Yeah,
Yep.
they can do it again. Absolutely.
That's not really a race thing. That's an anything
Oh
thing.
yeah. Yeah.
That's an anything thing.
Yeah.
Every time we play a game together, Sin always try to grab all the loot before I get a chance to get it. I don't like it. So I tell him, stop doing
Hey,
it.
stop doing that.
You just,
My
I'm
bad.
just saying, you gotta.
No, you do. You do. Or else if you don't say that, I just
That's
go grab all
anything.
the loot.
You're right. Jay, when you never know when a child is listening, so when you can say something.
Mm-hmm.
I totally hear that. Totally agree with that. Um, listen, I do want to take an opportunity to just offer to anybody who is in chat, anywhere we are, whether it's Twitter
Yeah.
or Facebook or YouTube. If you have a question for us, if you have something you want to know about whether it's okay or it's right or it's wrong or something else you want to feel, you want to ask how we feel about it, like J. Robert Deans did,
Mm-hmm.
by all means, take a moment now to do so. While you're doing that, I do want to say again that I think we need to keep this conversation going.
Definitely.
This has to be something that is bigger than just this 1 week, this one moment, this one day in time where we have
100%.
this kind of a conversation.
100%.
As a collective, Loading Snacks has decided to take the panel that we do at some convention and start doing it on a monthly basis, this way, virtually. So we do a panel called Being Comfortable Being a Geek. It has been very humbling, very eye-opening. It has given us the opportunity not only to tell our stories, we like to bring other people in so that their stories can be heard. That is whether it is because you are black or you are a member of the LGBTQ community or you are any person of color or you're white, straight, gay, whatever it is. We like to bring other people in so that they can talk about their experiences and so that anybody who is in the audience who is listening knows that there's somebody else out there with a story like theirs. And we have heard stories that have almost brought us to tears, in some cases brought us to tears, listening to people who are parents of autistic children or, whatever, and talk about kind of community that we have. I believe that the community we're in is really one of the strongest and best places to start the kind of thing that we're doing. So on June 13th, we are going to have a Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel. We're going to have a good friend of ours, Kevin Hawk, who runs Transcendent Events, does Nerd Apocalypse and all kinds of nerd parties and stuff like that throughout Baltimore, is going to join us on that panel to talk about what it was like for him growing up as a geek.
Mhm.
We'll talk about ours, and certainly it will be open to discussion for anybody else who is there. So June 13th. So 2 Saturdays from now,
Mhm.
that'll be happening. So please feel free to tune in. Yeah, we want to keep on keeping on. Any last words you guys want to say?
Stay prayed
You
up.
hit it on. I mean, we love you guys out there.
Yes,
Like,
sir.
if it wasn't for a lot of you guys, like this, just having you guys comment and talk to us, like, it just makes this such worthwhile. Like, I appreciate you guys. Like, you guys brought me into
Yeah.
the Loading Snacks. Like, you guys were the ones that started, and you brought me in. Like, I've experienced a lot of things that I feel like I would never have experienced if I wasn't a part of this community. And, you know, I love it. And I hope we continue to have these conversations and we can just grow and move on from there.
Sin?
Uh, I mean, like, I love our community. Love, all three of you guys. Even Kay out there in the comments world. And I like what we're doing. I like what we're doing. I like the direction that we're headed. I like the things we got coming in the future and moving forward. And I'm looking forward to pushing it and not only growing like us together as friends, but also as Lonely Snacks and uh, growing even bigger with some other these things we got plans and discussions we plan on having in the future. I think it's necessary. I think it's needed, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, for being members of the conversation, for partaking in what it is we're talking about, for being supportive of us, not just as a channel or as a collective, as geeks, but as black men. I see you guys. I really do. I see you supporting. I see you with Black Lives Matter hashtag. I see you in the comments defending us.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. It won't here, but it does bring me to tears. It is so important and so special to know that you have people that support you even outside of this, that are looking for levels of understanding and seeing anything that in your eyes is not right, not okay, not fair, and being people who are willing to step up to the plate to defend that is super
Not
important.
to cut you off, but I've been looking like through Facebook and just seeing what people are saying. And you're right, like our community is out there like fighting, holding it down. You know what I'm saying? Saying the right stuff, posting the right stuff. I've been loving
I've been
seeing
seeing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
I've been loving it.
Listen, I've been getting messages from people who are defending me in the comments on posts of my own right now while I'm doing this, telling me they can't even. I appreciate you, Laney, for defending me. And we'll have you on the show tomorrow. We're going to talk some games tomorrow, y'all. We will be back live tomorrow again to talk games.
Mhm.
Again, this conversation is not completely over. It is open. Feel free to reach out to me via
Oh, yeah.
DM, on Instagram, Twitter,
everywhere.
wherever you can find. If you see Loading Snacks, you can find me. If you find me, feel free to reach out to me. However you feel the need to. With that, what's up, Tyrone? It's cool that you're late. I'm going to say the thing. You black. I expected it. I can say that.
Oh,
Come on, Henry. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know what? Go back and watch the
Came off the
episode.
show.
right.
I feel like I
right.
defended whether or not Batman is a superhero versus a hero quite well. But we'll revisit that too.
Oh,
Will we not,
gosh.
gentlemen?
That was a war.
You're gonna
We're going
have
to
to,
start
yeah, you're gonna have to.
again.
I love all y'all. With that, we're out. Toodles and